On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, it's a Toronto Raptors-themed slumber party as we play a little game of Would You Rather related to the offseason, the NBA Finals, and so much more, all coming up today. Thanks for hanging.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, June the 6th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 10 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on the Hell website at Woodley Sean. You can find the show on Instagram at Locked On Raptors, and of course, you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. The link is in the description of the podcast. It's free to join, and it's a great place to come hang out with people just like you who love the podcast, who like to tell me how wrong my takes are in a pleasant, friendly, non-toxic way. It's a great place. Come hang out, be part of our listener family over there. It's where you're going to want to be on draft night, I think. It's going to be fun. We'll do some voice hangouts, things like that, and, keep you entertained throughout the interminable slog that is the NBA draft. Of course, you can find the show for free wherever you get your podcast. Follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Always appreciate it when you support the show on the audio side of things. You can also find us on YouTube. Just go subscribe to the Locked On Raptors YouTube channel. When you do that, hit the notification bell button as well, and you'll get a heads up via push notification every single time the show is about to premiere or go live. It's a great thing. Thank you in advance for doing it and supporting the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, let's get to it as he's knocking his camera all over the place. There's an earthquake taking place in his recording room. It is Jamar Hinds of Raptors Republic here on the show once again on a Thursday to play a little parlor game. It's just a thing we do all the time now with Jamar in the offseason when there's no games to recap, because he is, of course, the god of the game recap over there at Raptors Republic. Jamar, you ready to play some Would You Rather today, pal? How are you?
I was hoping that you didn't catch the camera thing, but you caught the camera
I catch everything, man. I'm all set.
I'm all right. We finally have the NBA Finals starting today. It's been, both teams have had like a week off almost. So It's been a long wait, but yeah, I'm ready.
Look, am I upset about a long layoff of not having to think about or watch the Boston Celtics? Not at all. They're now part of our lives for the next couple weeks. Hopefully, the Mavericks take care of it in short order. We'll get into the Boston Celtics and the NBA Finals coming up in the last segment of today's show. We've got 3 Would You Rather situations where we were at the slumber party, we're hanging around, where we got our sleeping bags, and we're now playing some Would You Rather with our pals. In this case, the pal is Jamar and myself. It's just a 2 guys sleepover. It's great. It's super fun. But anyway, let's dive on in here. We got 3 Would You Rathers. We'll start with the first, which is related to yesterday's episode of the show. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out, where I kind of reset the situation with Bruce Brown and Gary Trent Jr. and what's going to happen with them this summer. And so the first Would You Rather is inspired by their situation. Would you rather, Jamar, the Toronto Raptors finish dead last in 2024-25 with the best odds at the number 1 pick, or finish 7th through 10th in the East, the dreaded middle? Oh no, the middle, the play-in. Oh my God. What would you prefer of these two? Being dead last, getting the best shot, 14% chance of the number 1 pick, and I guess Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or whoever it's going to be, or have them show some signs of promise and finish between 7th and 10th in the East next year?
It's a harder choice than you think. However, the problem with that 14% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, just look at the Detroit Pistons. They've been number 5 and number 5 and number 5 3 years in a row. Even though they've had the worst record 3 years in a row, you could say they've kind of deserved it the way they've kind of built their team. And the funniest part about them being number 5 this past draft is that they were actually trying to win. Now there's rumors about evaluating Monty Williams 1 year into some mega, like, what is happening?
How the mighty have fallen. Remember when the Pistons were like the kings of the East during our respective childhoods? Wild times.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn. I'm like going through this in my head as we I'm trying to work this out in my head because the Raptors haven't gone that route in a really long time in terms of just, well, they've never intentionally really gone that route where they were so bad they had the top chances of getting the number 1 overall pick, because even when they got the first overall pick and got Andrea Bargnani back in 06, they were supposed to be like the 5th best,
They were like 7th or 8th.
Yeah. So that's actually really uncharted territory where they were just like, because this team is too good to be, well, they have too much talent to be that bad. It would have to be purposely done, or they would have to have the worst injury luck of all time. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling. So
shot clock, man. Shot clock. We need an answer.
You know what? And I know you're going to disagree with what I'm going to say, but just to try something different, I could handle one more horrendous season if it were to get like a top pick. I could handle it. I can handle it. I know you hate this, but if, like, I'm going to try.
You can't even come up with an argument in favor of this loser-brained nonsense. I'm going to take the mic now.
For one season, I can handle it.
We just lived through a season of them being terrible. You want another one of those?
I understand that, but considering the more recent success over the last decade, and if a number 1 pick that they could potentially get could springboard the next generation of Raptors basketball that much more, I think I could probably stomach it. That's all I'm saying. It took me a while to come up with that decision, but I think I can understand that side of the discussion. And I know here you are with that's complete BS. Go on.
Yeah, it is. It's loser brain stuff. It's
I'm not a tank person.
We're the lucky special people who are going to win the draft lottery with the 14% chance we have. Basically a Sean Woodley 3-point shot chance of getting the draft lottery win.
I understand.
They can't be the worst team in the NBA next season. Like, you're right. It would require like all kinds of horrible things happening for them to be worse.
Which I don't want, but
for sure. It sounds like you do want it, actually. It sounds like you're clamoring for injuries and shutting guys down.
No, I'm not.
Unbelievable, Jamar.
I mean, OKC was doing that a couple years ago, where Shea would just get shut down in January, and
it was cowardly, and they never should have done that. And they have this sort of like, oh, the Thunder, they're geniuses. They did all this tanking, blah blah blah. They traded for Shea. They didn't tank to get Shea. They traded for.
I understand it. I'm talking about the road to get Chet, who's basically their second best player. No, they did not get the number 1 overall pick, but they got the number 2 overall pick.
Sure.
So you don't have to get the number 1 overall pick for that method to be a success, especially if this draft is supposed to be stacked. If it gets you, like, what would be the percentages of getting a top 3 pick if that were the case? Like 50% or something like that?
Yeah, something around there. 50% to finish in the top 4 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's
the flattened odds change the calculus here, man. The flattened odds make it like a really tough pill to swallow to just accept being the worst team in the league for a year. And I think the thing that you're not mentioning here, Jamar, is the sort of cost of wasting another season of Scotty Barnes, of Emmanuel Quickly, of RJ Barrett. You have these guys.
That's not great, and I understand that.
You have these guys now with a runway of at least 3 years until RJ Barrett comes up. I think you need to start the groundwork of building them into a competitive, good team beginning this coming season. And yeah, maybe they're light on the super high-end talent that's going to make them a championship contender down the line.
And that's what I'm worried about.
Walking before you can run, though. And you can trade for championship contention talent if you want. And you know the way to get your current players to be the level where you can go win championships is have them play meaningful basketball and learn and develop and not just kind of waste away hoping for lottery luck like the Detroit Pistons, who you started your argument off with.
Yeah, and I understand this is not the route the Raptors took, obviously, to be a champion in 2019. I even remember the tank for Wiggins
Don't we
campaign
all?
back in like 2014. And, sometimes you want to tank for a certain guy, and that guy doesn't even end up being a generational player that you thought he was going to be. So I totally understand it. I was just in the boat of, trying something different, but you don't have to try something different. Like, for what it's worth, I was thinking a lot. Okay, so yeah, whatever.
Come on, you say you're not a takes man, but
I'm
you're
not.
clearly
I'm really
trying
not.
to come up with something contrarian. We'll make you into a takes man. Yeah, you're on your way. But yeah, just to kind of finish off the point, finishing in the play-in next year, I think would be a great step forward for this group. It means if they finish 7th to 10th in the Eastern Conference, probably that Scotty Barnes has taken another jump of some degree, that Emmanuel Quickley is looking like the lead guard of the future, and things get a whole lot easier to fill in the pieces around those guys if all of a sudden they're looking like a pair who can drag teams to wins, who can drive positive play. I think the value and the benefit of seeing those guys actually play a competitive season, the value of seeing Darko Rajakovic actually like coach a team that is trying. We don't know what Darko is yet. Like, there's so much information to be gleaned still from this group they have now that I am not worried about the speculative, like what if they could get Cooper Flagg? Like, one team's getting Cooper Flagg. One team is getting Ace Bailey. It's probably not going to be you, even if you do have the worst record in the NBA. And so for me, this is so easy. 7 through 10, be a playing team, be competitive, make it the first step towards something better that you're striving for. And it's not like they're bereft of young players. All of their players are young and interesting. And there's a very real chance that if you draft someone in the top part of the draft, they're not even close to as good as Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickley or whomever. It's just the draft is a crapshoot at the top. Even if next year's top of the draft is projected to be better than this one, it's not like Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or a Victor Wembanyama level prospect or anything like that. Maybe that would change the calculus there too. But for me, clearly 7 to 10 is what I would rather. Jamar, you're on the side of the tankers, man. Disgusting stuff. We'll come back on the other side and we will get into our second Would You Rather, which was related to the off season. I totally am a fool where I said the first one was about the episode from yesterday. That's not true. This next one is. I'm a dum-dum. We'll continue on my bad hosting job coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes getting to the NBA Finals even faster and easier. Maybe you're in Boston. Maybe you're in Dallas. Maybe you're a Toronto basketball fan looking to travel to go watch the finals because you missed that sweet, sweet feeling. You can go get your tickets at Game Time, and you're going to get the lowest price tickets for the NBA Finals, if in fact you want to go there. But it's not just the NBA Finals you can get tickets for. It's anything: concerts, theater, of course, all the sporting events you could want in the world, comedy shows. It's all there for you. You get views from your seat, so you know exactly what you're buying. There's no fees that get sprung upon you at checkout when you've already pot committed to buying the tickets. No, it's just as simple and streamlined as it could possibly be. Go check it out. I have used them a million times, and I will continue to use Game Time because they're always the best way to get cheap tickets. I went to the Las Vegas Aces game a couple weeks ago in Vegas for like $66 at fifth row in the corner, right up close. It was awesome. There were celebrities sitting nearby. Celebrities I didn't know. They played for the Raiders, but like everyone knew them, and they were very happy, and we were right by them. It was great. So go and check out the wonderful app that is Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, back at it here with Jamar Hinds, paying off my original tease and segue into the first Would You Rather we had because I screwed up the order. Yesterday on the show, we talked about the offseason, Bruce Brown, Gary Trent Jr., et cetera, et cetera. This Would You Rather is related to all of that. Again, go check out yesterday's episode if you have not yet. Would you rather, Jamar, the Raptors keep Bruce Brown and Gary Trent Jr. plus sign Caleb Martin with the mid-level exception, or create cap space and sign one single high-priced free agent? Could be anyone of your choosing. Isaiah Hartenstein, Nick Claxton, Malik Monk is the big sexy name out there among the guard class. Tyus Jones. Like after that, it gets kind of slim as far as guys who are attainable, who aren't going to be max level guys, but you might be able to get for 25, 30 million bucks a year. Jamar, what is your preferred avenue for the Raptors this summer? Cap space and one big free agent, or you kind of play the depth game a little bit and go Brown, whatever, maybe you can trade for him at some point, Gary Trent Jr. and Caleb Martin. What you got? What would you rather?
Even the big free agents you mentioned are not really like big free agents to me.
No.
So
you're not getting OG or Paul George or tier Pascal Siakam.
Okay, so then I'd rather go the first route and just re-sign, just keep the guys you have and then still have the ability to trade Bruce Brown later on this season, as opposed to just signing a guy for the sake of signing a guy that doesn't really make sense for the team cap wise. I would prioritize that if we're like trying to do a build up properly. So this is easier for me than the first question. I guess it would be the more boring avenue, I guess. But yeah, all the names you mentioned, and I know I mentioned Malik Monk a few podcasts ago, but yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't be wild about signing a guy that's, all right for over 100 mil. That was just another game I was playing. So yeah, I don't know. None of those names stick out to me where it's like, yeah, let's go get that guy right now. He's going to make a massive difference to this team. It feels like more so that's a contract you might regret in a season or two. And it's been like, okay, if we didn't sign him, we would have X amount of money right now. So yeah, I would rather just keep Brown and stuff and see what they could do later. That would be my guess. I mean, not my guess. That would be my choice.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I do think there is like a bit of a split of opinion among the fan base of like the cap space versus non-cap space route. I went through yesterday. I just think the cap space avenue is not really getting you a whole lot, and the best things you could probably do with that cap space involve offer sheets to RFAs that are by no means guaranteed to actually land you the player and end up just being kind of like extra paperwork you didn't have to do. No one needs to do extra paperwork. Screw admin. It sucks. When it comes to the big UFAs, I think the one guy who would be like enough of a talent upgrade to sort of say, okay, that outweighs the added like depth of having Brown plus whatever you trade for him, plus Gary, plus Caleb Martin on the team. Like Malik Monk is the one guy where it's like, okay, like that is a talent increase. You would go in with like a Quickly, Monk, Barrett, Barnes, Pirtle starting five, which would be absolutely horrendous on defense, but probably is the backbone of like a top 7 or 8 offense in the NBA. Maybe that's enough to convince you after watching years of very bad offensive basketball for the Toronto Raptors. Maybe you want to see just like a really high flying, fun, high octane offensive team play. I could see the vision for that, but the point of it being just kind of prohibitive salary cap wise going forward, yeah, it makes sense this summer. But once you've paid Quickly, once you've paid Barnes, things get a little trickier. And having 25 million bucks of Malik Monk on the books when he doesn't really address the biggest core need for this team, which is perimeter defense on the wing, I just don't know if you can really stomach that. And I think the Monk Barrett, 2-3 combination probably ends up being one of the single worst defensive wing combos in the NBA. And so tough for me to justify. I know the Brown, Trent plus Caleb Martin thing is unsexy. I personally am like kind of queasy about Caleb Martin, but at the mid-level exception, if you can get him for that, like, okay, yeah. I think that's probably fine. Maybe he earns more than that, but I also don't think he really is that class of player necessarily, and the mid-level feels about right because I think there are plenty of reasonable questions about his viability outside of Miami and going forward as he nears 30.
If you get Eastern Conference Finals, Caleb Martin, it's worth it.
It's literally just Caleb Martin against the Celtics. Everyone else he's not good against, but the Celtics he is like Paul George. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, hey, you play the Celtics 4 times a year, you get that 4 versions of Caleb Martin going for 35 and scorching the nets. Maybe that's worth the money on its own because it owns the Celtics. we'll get to the Celtics in a second. But the Bruce Brown, Gary Trent Jr., Caleb Martin thing, I think, is probably the preferable option here. And I do think, like, as much as eventually there will be a need for higher end talent, I think right now this team is just in need of competent basketball players, and having 3 good players as opposed to 1, I think solves that issue a little bit more than just kind of bringing in Malik Monk and hoping the bench figures itself out, which, like, spoiler alert, it probably won't just figure itself out if your big offseason addition is Malik Monk and not much else. So it's not sexy. I know people don't like Bruce Brown. I think those people are kind of missing the point of what Bruce Brown is and why he was bad down the stretch of the season. But you can listen to me rant about that on yesterday's podcast if you want to go and do that. We'll come back on the other side, Jamar, get into our third Would You Rather related to the NBA Finals. Of course, it's got a Raptors angle to it as well. We will get to that coming up to round of the show in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by our pals over at Prize Picks, the single best place to play daily fantasy sports. Highly recommend you go check them out because it's as fantasy sports should be on the daily front. It's just you against the stats projections and whether a player is going to get more or less. It's that easy. It's just a quick pick and you are on your way. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sport this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chances of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. All sorts of little fun stuff worked in. There's always action on Prize Picks as well, and this is the perfect time to try something new as basketball season's winding down, the NBA Finals starting up. Make sure you try out esports this month, because for every Wednesday and Saturday in June, if your lineup doesn't win, you'll get your entry fee back when you are playing on Counter-Strike 2, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and more. If you're an esports head, it's all there for you over on Prize Picks. Go check it out. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's Prize Picks. Go download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100 with Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Back at it here with Jamar Hinds. Just a reminder, Locked On Sports Today 24/7 is your all-day streaming channel with Locked On shows running all the live long day. And it's a big week to go check those shows out. You get Locked On Celtics, Locked On Mavericks, Locked On NBA, all in the NBA Finals. On the NHL side of things, if you're a Stanley Cup Finals head, Locked On Oilers, Locked On Panthers, Locked On NHL. Go check them out. They're running all day, along with all the other national and local shows covering the biggest stories in sports. Locked On Sports Today 24/7. It's better than working. Okay, Jamar, let's round it out here and get into the final Would You Rather. As the finals begin tonight, we got to have some finals content on the show because we're podcasters, baby. Of course, we're going to tie it back into the Raptors. And look, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school when I say the general basketball watching public mostly wants the Mavericks to win this finals. If someone has to win, personally, this feels like the asteroid finals, where I'd be okay if an asteroid hit and no one won and the world ended and we've got, buried under 2 years of, like Fallout winter and all of that. That'd be fine by me. But someone's got to win. And I think most people with pulses who don't live in Boston would like the Mavericks to win this series, because Luke is cool and stuff, even though they don't deserve anything good either. Mark Cuban, et cetera, et cetera. With that, would you rather, Jamar, the Boston Celtics win the NBA Finals and guarantee that the Raptors get at least one NBA Finals by 2030, or the Celtics lose the NBA Finals and the Raptors only have a 20% chance at a Finals by 2030? So the Celtics winning means the Raptors will be in a Finals, maybe not win, but they'll be in a Finals in the next 5-6 years, or the Celtics lose and the Raptors still have a chance of getting to one, but it's a little slimmer, much slimmer, 20% chance. What do you have here? And is the actual answer here, the preferred thing is the end of the world happens instead of the Celtics winning? What you got for this Would You Rather?
So you have 100% versus 20%. That's a lot bigger than just a little bit slimmer.
Yeah.
So,
no, sure enough. Yeah. But hey, I will say 20% more than the chances of getting the first overall pick if you are the worst team in the NBA.
Wow, 6%, a whole 6% difference. But okay, so I'm a Celtics hater. I'm a Lakers hater. I'm a Utah Jazz hater. This goes back to the 90s. And like as a kid, and obviously I was on the right track when it comes to Malone and Stockton, but that's a whole different conversation. Anyway.
God, imagine being a Jazz fan. Just your two biggest legends are those guys. Ugh.
Anyways, even though I am a hater, I'm not so much a hater that I'm going to impede my own joy and success. So I think we're going to defer on this. I mean, but I will rather the Celtics win the championship. Listen, I don't like either team. So no, I don't dislike the Mavs on the same level that I dislike the Celtics, but whatever. Take your ring, and if that means the Raptors are in the finals, I will 100% take that. I'm sorry. I just will. I just like I could stomach one season of the Raptors being horrible. If it's going to springboard them that much more, I can stomach one playoffs of the Celtics finally winning their first championship since 2008, if that means the Raptors are going to springboard back in the finals. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I were to go the other way. So yes, I'm not gonna what's the saying? Cut off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to do that regarding my hate for the Celtics. It's like I can be rational here, okay? I mean, they've been good for a long time anyway. Is it going to be that much more devastating if they finally add a ring to all their deep playoff runs over the last half decade? It's going to like whatever. I can take it.
I do think this is the most difficult would you rather I presented today.
Really?
I think you are like you have the rational, probably objectively right answer here. You know, the Celtics winning the title, that would suck. But if the Raptors make the finals in the next few years, that would ease the pain, surely. I think a couple of things influence my feelings here just a little bit. One, the Raptors have a recent title, so like that makes it feel a little bit easier. I know it's like further and further in the review by the year, but like a title in the last 5 years, that's still you're laughing compared to most franchises, and you feel pretty good about your overall station. The other thing too is like thinking about what we would miss out on discourse wise if the Celtics were to lose in these finals. I don't want to miss out on that. I think it's going to be some of the juiciest, takiest, Bill Simmons crying into a microphoniest things that you've ever heard, and I kind of want that.
That does sound tempting, Bill Simmons crying.
It is very tempting. I ultimately think I come down on the side of you as much as I really, like, in my heart of hearts, want to be irrational here and just say, screw the Celtics, screw my nose and my face or whatever the idiom is. I just, like, I don't want them to win a title or feel joy. If it was pretty much any other team, I would be fully on, okay, yeah, just like, it's fine to not make the finals if you're the Raptors or only have a 20% chance at it in the next 5 years. The Celtics can't win. But because the Mavericks are so detestable as a franchise themselves, like I don't really want them to win either. I think I'd probably go to the one where the Raptors have a way better shot of making a finals, even though it absolutely feels like I'm stabbing myself in the heart with
I thought you were going the other way.
I really did too. Honestly, I came into this episode thinking I was going the other way. But thinking about Mark Cuban being happy also kind of made me feel like, oh, okay. Like, they're both evils. Neither is the lesser of two evils here. Again, go Asteroid. Any quick final thoughts before we round it out? I know people don't tune into this for our thoughts on the Mavericks and Celtics in a tactical sense, but we got a minute or two to play around with. Well, what do you got here? Any thoughts on the finals?
Well, first of all, if we were to substitute a third evil into this equation, I think it would be the Sixers. But I think that would be more stomachable, if that's a word, because Lowry's on the team. So it's
yeah, I was rooting for the Sixers in these playoffs. Frankly, I have no real problem with them. So
okay. I know a lot of people do. In terms of the finals. In terms of the finals, I'm hoping. I feel like I have a biased opinion. I'm hoping for Mavs in 6. Like, I would be okay with that. Again, I don't want the Celtics to win. It's going to be interesting to see who Luka defends and if they go at him and force him to, because basically Luka was hiding out in that T-Wolves series because they have less versatile offensive options. So it'll be interesting to see who guards Luka and if he actually has to work on that end. But and Porzingis is apparently coming back for game 1, so it's going to be just interesting to see how ready he is for this moment. But there's a lot of ties. It's like Porzingis with Dallas, Kyrie with Boston. Is he going to bring Sage before the game and get that all situated again? So there's a lot of storylines there. So I mean, like, it's okay. I don't have to like every single finals matchup. I don't like this one. It's all good. Whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, we got spoiled last year with Jimmy against the Nuggets, I think. That was a pretty fun final.
Well, some people didn't even like that. So
yeah, well, some people are, again, babies who are wrong about things. Whereas we are only right over here on this podcast. Yeah, I really hope the Mavericks win. I think I'm maybe reconsidering my original stance. I don't want Jason Tatum and his extremely bland style of play to be something that like, everyone's got to be like Jason Tatum now. Everyone's got to be like doing bad Kobe cosplay. I don't want that.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because literally one image just popped up in my head. And okay, if the Celtics do win, please Tatum, don't recreate the Kobe thing. Don't do that with the locker room and the trophy thing. I remember they tried to get Paige Beckers to do this when UConn went to the Final Four, and she's like, "No, that's Kobe." Like, that was the correct answer towards this. Please do not do that. I feel like he would, and I would take back what I said in this segment about no, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm actually doing that now. That image has bummed me out so much that I'm taking it back. I would rather the Celtics lose and the Raptors only have a 20% chance of the finals by 2030. Where's my mallet? It's done. Decision made. Yeah, thank you for convincing me, because that grotesque image is really it's veered me way off from ever wanting to entertain a world in which I'm excited for the Celtics to win a championship. Gross.
That seems like a good way to end things.
Feels like a perfect way to end things. We will leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out, Jamar, and indulging me in this dumb little game. Thank you, audience, for putting up with my total lack of an ability to order the segments in the way I originally had in my head. Maybe you don't care about that at all. That's fine, too. Jamar, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
I feel like that inside the NBA segment where what's it called? It's like EJ Stat of the Night, and it's like 90% of the time it's like presented by no one. That's kind of like me in terms of things to push right now. I have nothing. So anyway, if you want to follow me, you can. Jamar BH, Jamar BH, and then I don't have anything for you right now. I don't. So. These are really horrible. These are really, really just non-convincing ways of promoting myself. But I'm not a good promoter anyway, so here you go.
That's fine. Like I've said in previous episodes where you've had trouble promoting yourself, go relive the 2023-24 Raptors season via Jamar's game recaps. One of the only things keeping us sane throughout that whole year was Jamar's great takes on games. Yes, go do that. At least click on it. You got to read it. Click on it for Jamar's sake, but don't read it. But either way, Jamar, thanks so much for hanging out, buddy. Everyone, thank you for listening and rocking with the show. We'll be back again on Fridays. Our pal Will Lou will be along for his first appearance in quite some time to the guy we used to record podcasts with in my kitchen on a little microphone that we shared way back in the day in the early ages of Locked On Raptors. Excited to have Will on the show now that we have like video and stuff. That's cool. So yeah, he'll be on tomorrow. We'll talk about the offseason at large, some big picture stuff, and catch up with our pal. And then, keep on checking out draft stuff. Lots of draft stuff from this week, offseason stuff from this week. It's all there for you. Go check it all out. Support the show by following, subscribing, rating, and reviewing, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk to you again on Friday with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was close.